If your hard drive is full of 8-bar loops like mine once was, you don't need more tutorials, you don't need plugins, you just need structure. Today I'm going to show you how to completely finish your track using a MIDI skeleton. Let me know if this sounds familiar. You spend hours tweaking on a loop and then it just goes in your loop library where you have tons of unfinished beats and then you just move on. Today I'm going to give you guys an industry secret for finishing your tracks and a workflow that works every single time. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see next. If it's a tutorial or more stuff like this, happy to help you guys out, happy to make it for you. Also, super big news for you guys. Starting 2026, I just launched a school community. So this is completely free to join. It's basically a producers community where you can hop in, get questions answered, get track feedback. Myself and a number of other well-suited producers are going to be in there to help you guys network with other producers. There's free courses in there. There's a free Ableton Live Mastery Course. There's an introductory music production course. There's a free mastering course. If you're stuck as a producer or stuck in the YouTube trap of learning different stuff every day and not getting anywhere, there's also a paid tier which gives you access to a complete music production education, weekly live track reviews and calls, Q&As, join others in a monthly track completing challenge, hop in on calls where I'll work on you guys' tracks and give you live track feedback. Super cool stuff. So again, free to join. The link's in the description. Let's get into the video. So here we have the infamous 8-bar loop. This is just a little idea I've been working on, kind of like it's a weekend flip. It's kind of like a bassy type weekend flip. Let's take a listen to it. So we have this loop. The question is, how do we now turn this into a complete track? And this used to drive me crazy. I used to get stuck here all the time. Had a folder literally full of these. What we're going to use is a MIDI skeleton. So these are something that are kind of unique, and I've only seen a handful of producers use, but they work very well. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to come in here to 100 arrangement templates. So this is going to be linked down in the description. It's $5 or it's free if you join the community. So up to you. And what we have in here is we have 100 different arrangement ideas. So these are different genres all across the board. So we're going to scroll down and find one that works best for us. So let's go with the dubstep arrangement. So all we have to do is drag and drop this in, and it's going to pretty much give us a outline for how to arrange this. So one super important thing to remember here is once we have a loop, we actually have all the pieces we need to basically arrange and print out our entire track. We just need to learn how to repurpose each of these in different ways to kind of keep everything moving. So I'm going to kind of show you what I mean right now. We're going to take this one loop, and without really adding any elements or creating anything new, we're going to have an entire track out of it. So first, we know this is going to be kind of our drop, we'll call it. So let's copy and paste this into our drop. And now referencing our documents, we're going to delete the kick, drum, and sub bass and repeat lead, melody, and white noise riser. So what we're going to do is we're really just going to duplicate this across the entire project here. And so for the intro, let's come in here and we're going to delete our drums, delete our vocals, those are going to come in later, delete our bass. So we have this chord progression that we extracted from the original track and converted it to MIDI. And basically everything we're going to do is going to build off this chord progression here. For the build up, we're going to put the drums in and a white noise riser. Very, very simple. I like to start effects out at -20 decibels. And then I'm going to introduce different chops from the vocal sample. So one key thing to think about here when arranging your track is if you have one element, like one vocal from, an acapella or whatever, anytime we can repurpose that and put the same vocal in, that's going to keep the track consistent. And it's going to, we're going to utilize what's known as foreshadowing, where if we play the vocal or part of it before the vocal comes in, it's going to warn the listener that that vocal is coming. So these are different vocal chops from the Weeknd acapella. For the drop, what we always want to do on the second half is we want to keep everything interesting and moving all the time. So we're just going to change one little thing on the second half of the drop. So one very common thing to do is add a little bit of a drum element to the second half of the drop. And again, white noise risers, anywhere you're doing a change in section at all, are super helpful, even if they're very subtle. So like this one's pretty quiet, you can barely hear it, but it's totally easing into the next section and warning the listener that a change is coming. So we're already through our first drop here. It's asking us to put in a breakdown. So we want the energy to crash down to 0. We want to cleanse the listener's palette. Cannot have high energy forever. You need contrast. And then we're going to introduce pads, atmosphere, and solo instruments. So what I like to do for my breakdown quite often is I like to copy and paste my intro over. So we're going to collapse all this and delete all the drums and everything. And then we're back down to just this. Because there's not really a lot of energy in this, but it kind of keeps the theme. Another huge part to having transitions into different sections that kind of flow is reverb throws. So if you've ever had a transition and it just sounds sudden and different, this is one really good way to ease this. I'm going to use Bass Clef's Easy Washout, which is free. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to automate this washout from 0 to 100 right here. And this is going to kind of let this vocal fade out so it's not so sudden. Another really practical way to have an interesting breakdown that's not exactly like your intro is to add some more layers to your melody or your sounds here. So we have this kind of interesting, orchestral sound here, and I'm just going to duplicate this. Okay, so we were going with like an 80s vibe on this because it's the Weekend track, and we're kind of trying to like play off the original track. So maybe like some 90s Polly's keys, just like a very subtle layer, just that it's slightly different. And then we'll maybe pitch this down so it's not getting in the way of the other one. And then we're going right back into a build-up. So again, this is something where we would want a variation from the first build-up in some way, shape, or form. But for now, I'm just going to copy this over and paste it. And so another way to keep stuff interesting without making something brand new is pitching down an octave. So let's grab this vocal here. For pitching vocals, we're going to want to go to Complex Pro, and we're going to just shift down to an octave down. Maybe it'll go up if it's a little... Yeah, so I mean, it's a little subtle change, but again, it's differentiating this section from the first section. And so now we're at the second drop here. So we're already halfway through our track, pretty much just by duplicating stuff. Here's a trick for the second drop. So this is called a false entrance. So what we're going to do is we are going to bring in the vocal and then cut out everything else. So it's kind of gives it like like a false entrance, basically. So pretty much everything except the vocal here. So we're basically playing a trick on the listener. White noise riser, ease the transition. So we'll kind of copy and paste this. And now we have this false entrance, which people go wild for, especially when it's being played on set or in a club or something like that. Not really fucking with the breaks. On what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little reverb throw here. So again, bass clef or a washout throw, which is a little different. And we're just going to go 1 to 100 here. And it's going to give this a nice ring out into the next section. Now for the second drop, in addition to the false entrance, we would want to make some other variations. So typically that would be something having to do with the bass. So it could be really anything. Like we could change the patch, we could pitch this up, pitch this down. This is the combination of two patches here. So let's change one of the layers and see what that does for us. So again, it could be anything, but I'm just doing a little bit of filter movement in this one. So whatever is going to differentiate this one in a very subtle, almost not noticeable way from the first one is what we're going to do. So for this one, we're going to opt out of the bridge and the final drop. We could totally go this direction, but if we want to just keep it simple, we can do what's known as the Golden Gate Bridge format, which basically means the energy goes up, comes down, energy goes up, comes down. It's basically the most practically used format in electronic music. And so we'll delete that, and for the outro, we're literally just going to copy and paste the intro. And again, utilize this washout to kind of let this vocal ring out. And honestly, I mean, we could do more, but that is a done song. We have our intro, our build up, our drop. We have a nice little breakdown, build up with variation, drop with variation, and outro. And that's 75% of electronic music, especially like bass music tracks right here. So I'll go ahead and make this project free and give you guys a free download of it if you want to kind of hop in and take a deeper dive. Again, the 100 arrangements will also be linked, as well as the school community, which I highly recommend hopping in. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
More